Welcome to WACSUN Weekly. WACSUN Weekly is the official Western Athletic and ASUN Conference podcast of FCS Fans Nation. WACSUN Weekly is hosted by Dustin Helton, Brandon Owens, and Will Seiler.
Welcome back, FCS Fans Nation, to a red-eye, heavily caffeinated episode of WACSUN Weekly. We're coming up to the very peak of football season. It is the very, the midpoint. And I think we're all pretty exhausted here on this Tuesday night, but what's better than talking football? So first things first, I got to say, we had something really cool happen last week. And, maybe it was because we had a fourth person on, but we made the South Dakota State official hype video for their game against Western Illinois, which when it came out, I was like, what in the world? And I barely remembered what he said about South Dakota State, so I had to go back and watch it. I did too. That was freaking awesome. So what did you think about that?
Well, I just want to point out that we are South Dakota State football's favorite podcast. So suck it, B Team and Jackrabbit Illustrated. Get on our level. You haven't been featured anywhere on their stuff. But no, I get their point. I feel like here's the thing about the Midwest people. They get really salty about things. It's just like they get so upset if you snub them in rankings or if you do anything like that. Like, I didn't agree with what Nathan was saying. I thought it was completely wrong. But at the same time, just the amount of saltiness you see from them is just surprising. I mean, it's kind of fun. I was making fun of them for just how salty they were. But you know what? They won their game, not as handily as I thought they would win. But they still won their game. So if that motivated them to get a win, then you know what? Good.
If I'd been thinking, I would have cut that out and put it on for tonight as a clip. But if you haven't seen it, just go check out. You can either go check out the South Dakota State hype video from last week. It's on their Twitter, or you can go watch our episode. So that was pretty neat. I think we found out where all those views came from. I think. Yeah. I don't think that it was just some magical blow up. I think that South Dakota State was passing it in and around the football facility. So.
Well, hopefully they come back.
Yeah,
different conference.
Yeah, I mean, who can we diss this week?
Oh, trust me, there's plenty of people we can diss.
We can diss Montana. They got a big fan base, and we know some of their peeps.
Not the beast itself.
Yes. Oh man, no, that was cool though. That was pretty neat to see our ugly mugs on a official hype video. They made us look significantly cooler than we are. So appreciate you, Jackrabbits. Last week, week 5, it was a pretty fun week of football. We had some really good games, some surprising results. We had some really surprising results, overtime games, games that should have been won by certain teams that weren't. But it had it all. Week 5 did not disappoint. So just running through that slate of results, Jacksonville State and Kennesaw went to overtime. Jacksonville State did come out on top with the number 3 play in the Sports Center top 10 and came out on top 35-28. UCA finally got it together and knocked off Austin Peay 49-20. Eastern Kentucky took down Southern Utah in what was a lot closer game than I think any of us expected. 35-28 there. Abilene Christian continues to be steady and like you say, the Toyota Corolla of the WAC, but they slipped to 4-1 now and beat Utah Tech 26-10. And then Rev, your Lumberjacks, fell to Sam Houston in the final installment of Battle of the Piney Woods for the foreseeable future, 17-16. So I want to start there. I want to hear what you have to say because I really do feel like that was a game the Jacks should have won, pretty much dominated in every statistical category. So what are your thoughts?
So I want to read to you guys a statement that was released by the WAC. Yeah, I'm sure you saw it in the group chat, but just for the folks on here who aren't in the group chat. So in the fourth quarter, Sam Houston was driving. There was a 3rd and 9 play. Shoemaker overthrew a ball, and then the receiver was hit. They called personal foul because they said it was targeting a defenseless receiver. Gave Sam a first down. They were able to keep the ball moving, ended up scoring that drive with 35 seconds left and got the win. Here's the WAC statement, though. As standard process for all games involving Western Athletic Conference institutions, a significant and in-depth review of game operations is conducted. After a thorough review of the Sam Houston-Stephen F. Austin football game on October 1st, 2022, league officials determined that a misadmission of a personal foul for a hit on a defenseless player occurred late in the contest. So that's basically them saying they messed up and that's their apology. And you know what? I honestly wish they hadn't put it out, because that's even more infuriating. That we know you messed up. Everybody in the stadium knew you messed up, and you putting out the statement doesn't change a damn thing about the game. When you watch that game, a couple of things are really frustrating about SFA to me. One, they're just, you would think now in Coach Carthel's, I guess, 3rd, 4th year, they would be more refined. And I know they lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball, but even the offensive side struggled. That game was a game of 2 halves. In the second half, it was honestly just like last year's game. And it came down again to the very last damn play of the game. But SFA led until there's 35 seconds left in the game. And in the second half, the play calling got conservative, and we let Sam Houston back into that game. And that's what's frustrating. And I went off on Twitter, and you know what? I let my passion get away with my better judgment. But at the same time, I'm not completely sorry about what I said. We expect, as fans, we expect better. And I think you should be able to constructively criticize a team. Maybe I didn't do it the best way, but you should still be able to constructively criticize a team, especially a team that you love and you're passionate for. Hopefully, the rest of the schedule's not too difficult in the scheme of things, but we got UCA on there still. SFA would have to win out to get any shot of a playoff bid, and I don't see it happening at this point, just because they can't just keep it together, play and play normal ball. So yeah, it was frustrating. Kyler Neal from the Big Boy Show came with me. I think he had a blast. His lovely wife Kelsey came also. We were in a Sam Houston thing at Sam Houston suite, and then we went over to the SFA alumni suite, and it was a good time. Atmosphere is good. And I mean, it's frustrating that we lost. It's kind of frustrating that it's done, but it's what it is.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing that SFA didn't get the last one because I don't know how long it'll be before we see another one that is on the same level, like on the same, playing field. So disappointing, but I saw that play and I didn't think it was a personal foul live, much less when you watch it with if you watch it and read the rules side by side, you definitely don't think it's a foul. But even live, I didn't think that it was dirty. I thought it was, I don't know what he was supposed to do on that play other than hit in the midsection with his shoulder. Yeah. But, you can't go back and change it like you said. So maybe they probably shouldn't have said anything. Maybe they should have just, internally said, hey, we got to be better. But putting that out there is almost gas on the fire for SFA fans.
Yeah, to the point, SFA did not play great. Yeah, they dominated stats, and that's just because Sam Houston's not a good team either. Both teams are not good this year. They're just just not. And Sam left points on, they left points that off the board that, and if Sam had a better quarterback than Shoemaker, they probably would have won the game by 2 or 3 touchdowns, to be honest with you. Shoemaker's inaccurate throwing was just insane. But at the same time, SFA up at half, 13-7 at half, and just let off the gas. And you just can't do that in a rivalry game. Like, you just can't do that. So, yeah, anyways, I was, had a couple days to think it over, and then was, past it, looking forward to Abilene Christian this week. And then I saw that statement from the WAC and wanted to flip a couch. So thanks, WAC. Appreciate it.
Not doing you any favors, huh? Next thing I want to talk about, Brandon, I'll let you weigh in on your Gamecocks taking down Kennesaw State in overtime. If you're watching this and you did not see the SportsCenter top 10, was that on Sunday morning or was that Saturday night?
Sunday morning.
Okay. Had the final touchdown as the number 3 play on their countdown. And it was a very nice toe tap catch in the corner of the end zone. And a game that I thought Jacksonville State probably should have run away with. Maybe it was just the sense of a rivalry game that made it a little weird. But were you at the game?
No, I had the school I worked for. We hosted our contest, so I had to watch it on my phone.
I gotcha. What was your impression of the outcome?
So JSU has 2 football teams. That first half was god awful. It was literally like watching the Gross team play again, making mental mistakes, not catching punts. That is your only job as a punt receiver. That is your only job, and you couldn't even do that. Yeah, just making stupid mistakes in the first half. Started strong and then it just went downhill. And then I don't know what Rich Rod did at halftime, but those boys came out and dominated. Had 18 unanswered points, and just I seriously thought JSU was going to not even go into overtime, and our defense for some reason just let them score, and I don't know. But yeah, even though when it went into overtime, I was very cautious, so to say, because of the not last meeting, the meeting before last with the 5 overtimes. I was like, here we go again. But no, our boys played really tough in overtime. Sterling Galvin had a fantastic catch. And who was it that forced Jalen Swain? I think forced the fumble, and then somebody else recovered it. But dang, those boys played their hearts out in the second half, and I was so proud. Finally got a win over KSU. Finally. Thank God.
About time. I don't know how to take it, though, because Kennesaw was somebody that, looked down until that game, and then they looked pretty good against you guys. You held them to 7 second half points, so maybe they're not as good. I don't know. Maybe you made them look good in the first half.
I don't know. I think the quarterback switch helped them significantly. I think instead of having Xavier Shepard and having
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. Fresh set of legs.
Jonathan Murphy played the whole game.
Yeah, he played the whole game. He had 4 he had 3. I think he had 3 rushing touchdowns. And Kennesaw State kept it mainly on the ground. I think they only had 33 yards passing or something like that. Might have been 44. It was, but it was insanely.
44 passing yards.
Yeah, and I mean they kept it on the ground. They played the way that you would expect them to play, and I think that's what it is. They finally have been able to adjust with all the new rules and and bringing a new quarterback. I think helped them. Still lost though.
Who would have thought that?
Yeah, I'm still surprised that we won this game. Looking at the turnovers, we had 5 turnovers. I'm surprised that we won this game, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard to. Did you say 5?
5, 4 fumbles and 1 interception.
Hard to win football games turning the ball over that many times. So, if you're a Jacksonville State fan, you can rest assured that you've got a good team, because it takes a really good football team to win games with that many giveaways. Another game that I thought was super interesting, Abilene Christian, Utah Tech. I really thought Utah Tech would have some success on offense against Abilene. they've had success against everybody else they've played. Honestly, I mean, even was it Sac State maybe?
Sac State.
Yeah. And Weber, they moved the ball. Abilene held them to like 120 passing yards or something like that. Yeah, 121 passing yards. And this is a team that airs it out. That kind of blew my mind. I think Abilene maybe is better than just the Toyota Corolla of the WAC. I was listening to, I guess it was the Big Boy Show, and they were talking about who out of the WACSUN was, a front runner for the auto bid. Right now, Abilene has looked as steady as anybody. Now, their strength of schedule is not great, but in their loss to Mizzou, they only lost by 17. They beat Prairie View, who I think we're finding out is a better team than maybe we thought. They're a pretty good SWAC contender. So what do you guys think? You think Abilene is for real, or do you think it was just a nature of playing Utah Tech?
I mean, Utah Tech's not that good. They've looked better than they did last year and play. I mean, with the schedule they had last year, but they still aren't a great team. I mean, but Utah Tech did do a good job of keeping the passing game in check. But the problem was that they let Jeremiah Dobbins go crazy on the ground. Jeremiah Dobbins went for 135 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't know if that makes a Sean Anderson fat stat, but it's a pretty damn good stat, honestly. But other than that, I mean, Maverick McElroy and Ethan Long, I mean, went for 143. Long went for 92. No touchdowns, no picks. It was all ground game that got in the game. That's the thing about Abilene Christian, having a new coach, having Patterson in, I think it shows the talent and the promise that they have, but they also haven't really played anybody yet on their schedule with the exception of playing Mizzou. And yes, they did look, they did hang in. I say hang in loosely with Mizzou, but if you look at their FCS opponents, like who have they played? They really haven't played anybody. So I'll be interested to see what happens. They do get SFA twice. It is really hard to beat a team twice in a season. But who knows? They could be the best team in the WAC record-wise by the end of the year if they just keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, super interesting to me because I'm not used to Abilene really being there in contention. So we'll find out a lot this week with SFA. And like you said, get to see it twice. You can almost just bet that they'll split, but I don't know. I think SFA is definitely the more talented team. And if you go look at like offensive line size and everything like that, SFA is physically more impressive. So if they can just not play crappy, I think they should be okay. Yeah. But we'll talk about that a little more later. Brandon, do you have anything?
I was just going to say, let me see what they can do later in their schedule since they have Sam Houston, SFA. I know Sam Houston's not that good, but they're in transition just like we are. So basically they are an FBS team. So I know that's contradicting what I said earlier in the season. But
we'll put that on the record.
But I mean, also it's Sam Houston. So like, I just want to see more from Abilene before I say that they stand a really good chance at getting the WACSUN.
Yeah. When you look at the schedule for the rest of the year, like we said, they have SFA twice. You said they do have Sam. They also have as I call them, the Fighting USPS. That's the University of North Dakota, because if you look at their logo, it looks like the USPS eagle.
It does.
So they go to Grand Forks and play in the Alaris Center. I think that's going to be a good litmus test game of how far they've just grown throughout the season. That one's on October 29th.
Yeah,
I think that'll be a really key game, because if they can hang in or beat UND, I mean, that's a statement.
Oh yeah,
and they still have Southern Utah, who we still don't know a whole lot about, but we feel pretty confident about them. So, I mean, the rest of their schedule is pretty tough. Yeah. So let's see what Abilene can do.
Moving on here, the Eastern Kentucky Colonels had a scare put in them by Southern Utah, as you were alluding to. which is not super surprising. I mean, we talked about it last week. We talked about we think they're a lot better than they have been. We talked about that was a long trip, and so maybe that wears on them. They lose because it's a long trip. If we play that game in Cedar City, who knows?
I would have picked Southern Utah if it was in Cedar City.
Just knowing what we know now, maybe Eastern Kentucky in the second half of that Ossipee game 2 weeks ago, and then now in this past week against Southern Utah hasn't looked great, but we know what they're capable of. We know the talent they've got on the roster. We know they have a lot of playmakers on offense and a great quarterback. So you can't discount what Southern Utah is doing.
No. I wonder, to me, if it just following on this, and Kyler Neal, when he listens to this, will probably agree. I think this actually shows the disparity between the Big Sky Conference and where the WAC and ASUN are. Because you think about Southern Utah, they haven't been able to compete in the Big Sky. And so it shows that the Big Sky is that talented, that deep of a conference versus what we have down here. And so maybe making the move, I don't want to say that the WAC is a weak conference, but it's not a strong conference. And I think making this move probably is more beneficial, since they're going to have better records. It's going to look great for recruiting and players, because they're not a 1-10 team. Coach Fitzgerald is doing great things. But I wonder if this is just more of a measure of them getting into a conference that they probably fit in better than the Big Sky.
Maybe, but at the same time, I do think they're improving.
Oh, I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you also have like a couple of Big Sky championships not that long ago, like you're bound to have some down years before you start improving again. So, I mean, it could also be that yes, the WAC is probably like the 5th or 6th best FCS conference. But, I mean, who's to say that both the ASUN and the WAC can't jump up into like the top 4 in the future? So you may be looking at like a Big 4 kind of deal in the future if it ends up being really beneficial for all of the teams that moved to these new FCS conferences.
Last year, Southern Utah did have some close calls with some conference games. I mean, they went to Montana and lost by 1. They lost to Portland State by 7. Let's see. Northern Colorado by a score. So, I mean, they had some close calls, but I see what you're saying. And I'm sure that is part of it, because, I mean, no one's claiming that the WAC is as deep or as strong as the Big Sky, who, unrelated here, looks like the best conference in the FCS this year. I would bet quite a bit of money on that over the
I agree.
So buy or sell that. I'm buying that.
Yeah, I'm buying that also.
All right. Last game on the slate was UCA Austin P. UCA finally got it together. Not until the second half, though. I don't know if you guys got to see that, but it was 7-6 at the end of the first half. And I think we had negative 15 rushing yards. I think we had like 100 passing yards. I mean, I think both teams had right at 100 yards of offense. And, I mean, it was just like watching a bad high school game. It was ugly to watch. But Scotty Walden went for it on 4th down on his own 34-yard line on the first drive of the game on like 4th and 2, and didn't get it. And so we scored right off that. But second half, I don't know what was said in the locker room. I do know that Coach Brown on the coaches show said that it was probably nothing he would let his kids listen to. But whatever it was, it lit a fire under them. Will McElvain came out and threw 3 more touchdown passes in the second half, went for like 260 and 4 touchdowns, 1 interception on a ball that got slapped out of his hand. So I thought he played well. Running game got going a little bit. We held Austin P to 45 rushing yards. They had 300 a year, 2 weeks ago against Eastern Kentucky. Mike DeLillo had, I think, like 2 or 3 yards total on the ground.
No, he had negative 14 yards.
Oh, yeah. Great. Awesome. Even better. I guess that probably takes into consideration his sack yardage too. So, yeah, defensive line got after him a little bit. UCA played well.
His passing was off too. Like, that's an awful percentage.
He was running for his life.
Yeah,
I will
it
say
seemed
that.
like there's not good line protection for him during that game.
No, and I think some of that does come from the UCAD line. We've got two defensive ends, Logan Jessup and David Walker, that are both pretty athletic guys that have whipped some of the offensive tackles this year. With the exception of Ole Miss and SEMO, they've given the other three offensive lines fits. So, which I think you can throw the Ole Miss game out. So, no, I'm very pleased with how that game went. I think, like we talked about last week, we really hit the nail on the head. UCA at times shows glimpses of being a really good football team. Just had to kind of get it together and play a complete game, and I guess we did that. So I will take it. I'll take 49-20 any day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at the UCA schedule for the rest of the year, and I mean October. I wouldn't, be surprised at all to see them. I haven't looked at any of the polls that came out, but I think they're getting votes if they're not getting ranking yet. But if we look at the game, they got Kennesaw State in 2 weeks, and then they got a bye, and then they've got North Alabama to finish off October. Those are all winnable games, and then November just that's a rough road that you have.
Yeah,
that is.
I feel sorry for y'all
because you got to go to Richmond. Then you get to come to Nacogdoches, which I know you're looking forward to, Will. And then you get Jacksonville State.
An early Frisco reunion for me and Will.
Right.
And 2 weeks. 2 weeks of Frisco reunions. Get to hang out with the Sillers.
Yeah. Heck yeah. If you don't know how to say my last name, I know I say it's Seiler, but it's not. It's Siller. Matt Frazee claims it, so we listen to him. He is the king of the FCS Fans Nation network. So what he says goes. No, but you're right. We have 3 winnable games, and then it's kind of interesting. If you go look at the Massey ratings website, which you're talking about rankings, we're not receiving votes in any poll. Any official poll. But if you go look at the Massey ratings, we're actually favored in every game from here on out, except for the Eastern Kentucky game.
Y'all are favored in the Jacksonville State game?
Listen, there are the Lindenwood game and the North Alabama game are the only one where we have higher than I think 54% chance to win. Everything else is a toss-up.
Okay.
But so it's pretty much toss-ups and then those 2 games. And then Eastern Kentucky is a toss-up too. So just interesting to see that because, a week ago it was like Massey's telling us we're going to go, 2-9. So interesting to see how one result kind of flips those computer rankings, which is a topic of its own considering we're doing our AQ that way. But UCA schedule is bookended with tough roads because, we started out with Mo State, SEMO, Austin P, and Ole Miss. And you end it with SFA, Jacksonville State, and Eastern Kentucky. So really no favors at the bookends.
Yeah, and same for Austin P. They only have 4 FCS games left. Murray State, Jacksonville State, UNA, and Kennesaw. Murray State is a rivalry game, so I throw everything out the window when it comes to a rivalry game. Jacksonville State, sorry, P. And then UNA and KSU, they have a tough schedule. They end with Alabama, but that's a given loss.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was a given win.
No, that's a given loss.
It's a winnable game.
If they did that, I would be so happy.
That not an Ice Cube's chance. Just being real. But yeah, so we'll get into some schedules down the road here in a minute when we talk about previews of week 6. But Rev, what do you have planned for us here in the middle stuff, as we like to call it?
Yeah, so I was thinking now would be a good time to do a little buy or sell as we are this far into the season. Just going to ask you guys, give you guys a statement, and you can say that you would buy it, that you think it'll be true, or you can sell it and say why. Okay, and none of these are trick questions. It's not like asking where Wagner University is located. These are all pretty straightforward. I think they're pretty easy to answer. especially if you follow the FCS. So the first question, and I'm going to flip the order I have them just because we were just talking about this. So buy or sell Central Arkansas winning the WACSUN AQ.
Sell.
Because I can see it happen. Like, there's not a game we can't win on the schedule left, and I think it's up in the air. I'd buy it for anybody, and so buy. I'm not gonna sell it on air. Sorry.
That was a test to see how hard the homer would go.
I just don't see it happening, so I'm gonna sell.
To me, I don't know. I'm torn because I still think Eastern Kentucky's the better team.
Mm-hmm.
And
then you also have Austin Peay.
Yeah, but I think too when they use that stupid computer rankings, EKU's wins, FBS win is going to be one of those things that helps boost them a little bit. UCA is almost like Jekyll and Hyde sometimes when you watch them, although it does look like they're getting their stuff together. So I think I would sell it right now, but I wouldn't be shocked if it happened either. It wouldn't be one of those things that surprised me. I think if they don't get the AQ, I think they might still make it in as an at-large bid.
The strength of schedule, if you lose the right games, does allow for another loss. I mean, we've seen 7 and 14 get in thousands of times. And so you don't have to win out. You just can't lose the wrong games.
Yeah. You're going to lose in Nacogdoches, so I guess that's going to hurt you.
Okay. I gotcha. As long as old Colby keeps his shirt on.
Oh, I'm gonna ask him to go shirtless that entire. I'm gonna have him run over to where I'm gonna tell him where we will be and have him run over, and he. No. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Buy or sell, and we kind of talked about this one a little bit, so this should be easy. Buy or sell. Abilene Christian being a playoff team this year.
I'm gonna sell.
I want to buy because I think they can be successful in their last half of the schedule. But for now, I'm going to sell.
Yeah, like we talked about their schedule, and I think their schedule it does help them. They do have some pretty tough games, though. I don't think they will get enough wins to be a playoff team. I think they'll fall short. I could see them being I think they'll be a 6-win team. And it's just not going to be enough. Because one of those is against a D2, so it's just not going to be enough. So I'm going to sell them being a playoff team, but man, I think they're going to come really close to being one this year.
If they beat UND, they will be right on that edge.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Especially because the other thing too is when you look at the Missouri Valley, those games, like, UND, all UND has to do is just get one right win, knock off one of the big boys, maybe somehow take out NDSU in a game. That's all it takes. And then if ACU to win that, I mean, that's a big boost. But I would sell that. I think I would sell that right now. I think they come in at 6 wins and just short.
If they were 4-1 right now with more impressive wins, I mean, they still only beat Lamar by 14.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I think we agree Lamar is not good. I don't think they beat SFA twice. I really don't think they'll beat Sam Houston. I don't think Sam Houston's good, but I think they'll beat Abilene. It's in Huntsville, and then Tarleton toss up. North Dakota, I think, wins that in Grand Forks. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go outside of the conference here for this one. Okay, so buy or sell a team who is not based in North Dakota, South Dakota, or Montana winning the national championship this year.
Sell.
You said not winning?
So basically any team that's not North Dakota State, South Dakota State, or the Montana schools winning the national championship.
For now, I'm gonna sell. I gotta see more. I gotta see more of the FCS. There's some teams that could potentially do it, but as of now, I'm gonna sell.
Yeah.
I think your best shot's like Weber or Sac State, but I don't I still don't think that one of them is going to have to play multiple of those 4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you in the playoffs beat them in succession. Like the fact that those are 4 of the best, 6 or 8 teams in the country. Yeah, I'll sell that.
I'm pulling up Sacramento State's schedule real quick because I think they're probably. I didn't think they were as put together earlier in the year. I doubted their ranking at where they should be, and I think they've shown every game that they're one of the best teams in the nation. I still think South Dakota State is the best team. I think they're better than North Dakota State. But if we look at Sacramento State's schedule for the rest of the year, they got Northern Colorado this weekend. That's a win because Northern Colorado is terrible. They play on the red turf after that, and then they've got Montana at home, Idaho at home, Weber on the road, and Portland State and UC Davis. And so they avoid Montana State. Getting Montana at home is huge, right? Because it's so hard to win in Missoula. I think that game, if they beat Montana, I would definitely buy them playing in Frisco. I don't know if they'd win in Frisco, but I would buy them playing in Frisco itself. It's kind of weird because now if you buy this, you're playing the field basically versus betting on a certain team. And I think, we touched on Weber. We touched on, we said Sacramento State. Honestly, Delaware is looking really, really damn good this year too. So I think there's 3 teams that are competing. I don't think the gap between 1 and 2 and the rest is as big as it has been in previous years. I think that gap has each week slowly shrunk down. But if I'm betting, I would still take North Dakota State or South Dakota State winning in Frisco. So I have to sell this, but man, would it be fun to see someone like Sacramento State or Weber State take it.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it would be awesome to see that. And if you made the statement buy or sell anybody besides one of those 4 schools playing in Frisco, I might buy it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, somebody outside of the Dakotas or Montana is going to have to win multiple of those games in the playoffs. Like you're kind of like how Sam Houston had to beat James Madison, South Dakota State, and North Dakota State in 3 consecutive weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to have to do that, and I just don't. At this point in the season, I don't feel comfortable saying, yeah, that's going to happen.
Well, also, there's a lot of teams that are more impressive than what we thought. Like, take Holy Cross, for example. Take Incarnate Word. Like, those kinds of teams have the potential to knock off some of those teams. They may not have to knock them off back to back to back, but, I mean, those kinds of teams could easily, knock off one of those 4 or a couple of those 4 in the playoffs.
I agree.
Yeah, sorry about that. If you heard some really weird background noise coming from my house, something, I don't know what that was. It was either a drone or it was a...
I mean, it is spoopy season.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I'm looking around. I was like, what in God's name was that?
Your house is haunted. Surprise.
It might be. Who knows? It might be. Okay. All right. So we got 2 more of these questions. Buy or sell someone that isn't a quarterback winning the Walter Payton Award?
Sell, even though there's a certain player that plays for North Dakota State that should win the Walter Payton.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Luke Key's the best player in the FCS. I don't care what anybody says. He absolutely is. But honestly, I think the person who's going to win it is Lindsey Scott Jr.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely destroying everyone he plays. And when you look at his national rankings, he's second in passing yards with 1778. He's second in passing touchdowns with 20. He's first in passing efficiency at 198.4. He's second in total offense at 388.6 yards. He's second in total points responsible for, which is 156. He's third in yards per pass attempt at 10.5, and then fifth in completion percentage at 71.9%. And I mean, wow. Like those, I mean, it is called the Stats Award for a reason. Jamie Williams would say that best. But it's hard to argue against those stats, and it's really hard to argue against, especially a quarterback playing in a conference that is so bad defensively as the Southland is. And so, as much as I think Hunter Lukey should win the Peyton, I think it's going to go to the good doctor, Lindsey Scott Jr. This year.
The good doctor. I love it.
I mean, that guy's been playing. I know he's only been playing 4 years, but it feels like he's been playing like 7 because he's, because he did have some red shirts and stuff. But man, it feels like he's been around for a long time. So, okay, this last one, there's been some rumors circulating. So, buy or sell Kennesaw State to Conference USA.
Buy.
What's the time frame on this?
Like so just in the next 3 years.
Buy. 100% buy.
I'm gonna sell for now. I haven't heard the rumors other than the KSU Owl something on Twitter posted about it, and I hear Brandon talk about it. But those are the only two that I've heard, specifically like call it rumors. And maybe I'm just ignorant to it and I just haven't seen it, oblivious to the fact that it is going around. But I haven't heard it like I've heard rumors of other realignment in the past that has then come to fruition. And so I'll sell it for now.
Yeah. My opinion on this is that KSU, while Jacksonville State fans would absolutely love it, KSU doesn't have the administrative support to do it. They're almost like Sam Houston, except Sam Houston is still doing it even without the financial support to do it. And I think that KSU jumping is moving to FBS now would not be a very strategic move for them. But I mean, you never know. Schools make decisions, and God knows why. I think I can't stop on to buy or sell it, though, to be honest with you, because from all indications, Conference USA wants another 2 or 3 teams. They want to fill up. They want to fill up, and it would be super easy to grab EKU, KSU, and SFA, or
and
Tarleton. And Tarleton. Although
I would grab all 4.
Yeah, except I honestly don't think SFA would be in the mix there. I think Tarleton would go. Tarleton has the backing of the A&M system. They have the money to do it. SFA is at the moment investigating joining a system because SFA currently isn't part of one. And I don't think they're ready. But anyways, I digress. I wouldn't point that. So I think right now I'm going to buy it. I think KSU jumps because CUSA wants it. But man, Conference USA is turning into a craptacular conference. Sorry, man. Like they're turning. I mean, that is the dumpster fire of FBS with the teams that they're bringing in. No offense to Jacksonville State for once, because usually I do try to offend and slander them.
Oh no, but Sunbelt has already interacted with my SSN page for Jack State, and they are 100% on board with Jacksonville State jumping to the Sunbelt in at least 10 years.
Like this is Conference USA is I mean, wow. So anyways, all right, those are the buy or sell questions, guys. Good job. Easier than geography, I think.
Yeah, because it's opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
If I could give an opinion on where all those schools were, I would I'd do really good, but I cannot. Well, that was fun. Thanks for running the middle stuff as always.
Hey, I realized I didn't list the game of the week. Week.
There's not just great. I'm gonna go with Abilene SFA.
I think so. I think that's probably the best matchup. So we'll use that one. That's why I think I put it last, but we'll get to that point. But man, what a week slate of schedule. A slate of games we have this week.
Yeah. All of them are a little bit interesting. It's not just they just don't have a ton of like weight behind them.
Yeah. The UCA game is interesting to me too, but I'll leave that to you to notice. I didn't put UCA first either. I don't think. This time. And the whole reason why, since you called it out last week and I didn't answer when it was, is that whenever I I put together a rundown. I go to the ASU page first for games, and then I go to the WAC page second for games. And the ASUN puts UCA first. It's always by time too, but they're always listed first. So that's why. It's not to mess with you, but now I'm gonna, whenever they're not listed first, I'm gonna find a way to put them first anyways, just to mess with you.
I'll skip right over them.
You're gonna have a bye. UCA's gonna have a bye week, and it's gonna say UCA versus bye at the very top.
All right, for week 9, we've got UCA. What's going on here? Let's jump right in. First game of the week: North Alabama taking on Kennesaw. They're in Kennesaw, and this is what I thought would have been a really good game, but with Kennesaw looking like they've improved a little bit after the quarterback change and after a pretty good showing against Jacksonville State, I don't necessarily see North Alabama rolling in and pulling off the upset anymore. So, Brandon, how do you feel? I feel like you're more familiar with these two.
Let me see who UNA has played and how the results have been. And then KSU. Hold on.
I know they've lost to. Let's see. I've got it.
Yeah, I think this is a good matchup. This KSU is very down, very down. I think the only reason why they played JSU tough was because it's a rivalry game. If they were playing anybody else, they just would not look good. UNA is UNA. I hate to say that, but yeah. So I'm actually going to pick UNA solely on the point that last year when they played KSU, they only lost by 4. So I think UNA is going to look to get its first conference win.
It'll be their first D1 win.
Yeah, the only win this year is against old Virginia Wise.
Yeah, it's against Virginia Wise. They've lost every other game. They lost to, they lost to the Trees. They just look bad. Like I think Kennesaw State runs away with it. No pun intended.
Well, also now that Jacksonville State's leaving the ASUN, this might turn into KSU's conference rival.
Yeah, I mean their geography works, but no, I think I would take the Owls by I'm gonna say 10 points. Because UNA is not good.
Yeah, I'll take Kennesaw by a couple scores, but I don't want to say it's going to be just a total blowout because of the nature of the Kennesaw offense. Who knows? If they score 28, they can only win by 28. So I say they win, 28-10, something like that. I don't think North Alabama has looked impressive enough to call an upset. Moving on down, though, Lindenwood making their way on down to the Stripes, down Highway 67, and then over 65 and into Conway to play first matchup ever against UCA. So this will be Lindenwood's only like third Division I game, fourth Division I game. No, third, I think. So, I'm interested to see how this goes. I have a buddy that played there, and he still follows them pretty closely as an alumni. And he said their O-line's pretty weak. They do have a really good quarterback, Cade Brister. He's at his best when he's moving around, which may not favor UCA very much, very well. That's good for him. He threw for 350 last week against SEMO, even though they lost by 3 scores. So I think this is interesting because we have a really good D-line. They have a pretty bad O-line. But if Cade Brister's throwing for 350, running for his life against SEMO, I don't know. That's a little bit scary for me. But I'm still going to, lean toward UCA, just given that because I don't pick against us, I guess. But anyway, what are your guys' thoughts?
Like, be honest, you're not going to pick against them. So I don't even know why we even asked you about this game. So no, Lindenwood's only
I don't like your
D1
tone.
Lindenwood's only D1 win is against Houston Christian University. By the way, they beat, I guess, Kaiser. I don't know how you say that. D2 Kaiser, and then it's not spelled like Kaiser, but I guess it is Kaiser. And then they got boat raced by Tennessee Martin and boat raced by SEMO. I mean, so they're not going to win on the Stripes. Lindenwood's not going to win on the Stripes. There's some guy on the FCS Fans Nation page who keeps asking why isn't Lindenwood ranked, and here's why: they suck. They're a transitioning team and they're terrible. Okay, give them a few years though, where they are, and they're going to be a power. I think they'll actually become a conference powerhouse. But right now they're not good. Okay, and that's what you expect from a transitioning team. Not every team is the 2008 Central Arkansas Bears. So.
Can't all be spectacular.
so I would I would give UCA probably a 3-score win. It's on the Stripes. I just think that's what it is. Sorry, Lindenwood fans.
Yeah, I think UCA isn't going to have an issue with Lindenwood. I think the score might end up looking like Lindenwood's last game. I think Lindenwood will put some points on the board, but I think UCA is just going to boat race them.
Yeah. If the defense plays like it did last week, we should be in good shape. But moving on down the line, we have Tarleton and Southern Utah in what I think would probably be a really good game. But I don't know if I'm picking an upset here or not. I don't know if you could consider this, an upset, but I'm going to roll with Southern Utah. They've looked pretty good, and they get Tarleton at home. And Tarleton has not been overly impressive. They only beat Mississippi Valley State by 16, got slammed by TCU, won a game against Eastern New Mexico, and then beat North Alabama by 15. I mean, none of those results scream, super good football team. Southern Utah's had some decent results. So I'm going to roll with Southern Utah on this one.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's not an upset. I think if you were going to pick Tarleton, that would be the upset game. I think Southern Utah, we kind of talked about this earlier. They're going the right way. They are showing what they can do. And I just think they will overmatch the Texans. So yeah, I will take SUU. That's definitely not an upset pick there. I think that's picking the favorite.
So, question, was the game last year in Stevensville?
Yeah, I think so. In Stephenville. Yeah, there's not
Stephenville. Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I'll roll with the Thunderbirds this time. It'll be a good game. It'll be a very competitive game, but I think Southern Utah gets the win.
Yep.
All right, pretty much in agreement there. And then we can move on to the game of the week. The Abilene Christian Toyota Corollas against the Stephen F. Austin Reverends. This first of two matchups this year, as we were already talking about. And this one is in NAC. Really intriguing matchup. I'm going to go reverse order here, Brandon. You give me your thoughts first, and then Rev, you can go.
Wait, you didn't update the game of the week stat sheet from last time? We all lost. We all picked SFA.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I've been studying microbiology.
I know you've been busy,
and so the Photoshop.
Yeah, I went 1-1
wait.
last week. No, I went 0-2 last week.
0-2
because we had 2 games. Remember?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I went 0-2, so I'm now 4-3.
Well, we'll get the updated standings next week.
This game is actually really hard to pick for me, because Abilene has been very impressive for me
This is weird.
This is so weird.
I don't know what to think.
I don't know what's going on here. Like it froze and it kicked me out.
That was strange.
Oh, there it goes. I was trying to edit the name. I was gonna have it say "not the Rev."
But Abilene has been actually impressive to me compared to past seasons. SFA has played their opponents tough, but haven't had overall like what's the phrase I'm looking for? They haven't been overly impressive regardless of the wins that they've had. So this game is actually really hard for me to pick. And I think because they play each other for their last game of the season, I'm actually going to roll with Abilene this go round.
Okay. So here's the thing. SFA hasn't lost to an FCS team this season. Sorry, Jacksonville State's not FCS. Sam Houston's not FCS. Their 3 losses have been to teams that are playing at above. You can call it FBS 0.5 or however you want to call it, however you want to call them, but that's what it is. So the 3 losses, I mean, they've lost to teams that technically are not FCS, and that's a lot of people's views, including my own. And you know what? It's what I say. So the fact this game's in Nacogdoches, the fact that SFA is coming off of a letdown game, losing to Sam Houston, the fact that they now have this bulletin board material from the WAC to put up, I think SFA comes out inspired. I I know Carthel knows this, and I'm sure the other players, like, they have to win out to even sniff the postseason. They have to win out. If they win out, they're 8-3 with 7 D1 wins and 3 FBS 0.5 losses. So I don't think you'll see them come out uninspired. Abilene Christian, I've said it, we said this, they're consistent. They managed to win games, but their strength of schedule, other than Missouri, hasn't been great. So I'm not going to pick against SFA, especially because Brandon has picked Abilene and I've got to get caught up. So I will be taking the Lumberjacks at home. Now, if this was the game at the end of the year where they're playing in Abilene, it might be a little different because it is hard to beat a team twice. But right now, SFA wins. They're not hanging 98 on them, but I think it's going to be a 35-24 SFA win.
Luckily, did you just knock on wood?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard somebody knock on wood.
Somebody knocked on my door.
Oh, okay. So since Brandon picked Abilene and you picked SFA, I can really pick who I think is going to win. So thanks for that. I don't have to, play the odds. So, like I said earlier, I think SFA is definitely the more athletic team. I think they're probably, if you look at the size of the just offensive and defensive lines, going to be bigger. You still have Xavier Gibson, and although he's got 300 receiving yards, that's less than we thought he would have at right now. He still has the potential to, blow up and go off. And so we know how good he is. We know what Trey Self can do if he catches fire. So I'm going to roll with SFA. You kind of took the words out of my mouth when you were talking about Carthel. You could tell on Twitter how torn up he was about it. And even in his response to your tweet, talked about, we understand that's unacceptable and that's not what we were hoping for and not what we prepared for. So I'm willing to bet that this week of practice for those guys, not that it's not fun, but that it's a very serious week of practice. And I'm sure the mood in and around the football facility is pretty stoic. And so because of that, I have faith that Carthel is probably the better coach in this matchup. And I think if you just kind of go down the line at the big positions, SFA has the advantage in most of those areas. And so, yeah, I'm going to roll with SFA. Tougher strength of schedule so far. Haven't lost a true FCS game. So the toughest part of their schedule is really behind them. And so I think they really have a chance to win some ball games, and they have to. So I'm gonna roll with SFA this week, and hopefully I get some points back because I need it. But gentlemen, that is the preview of Week 6. It is insane to think that this is over the halfway mark. Like after this week, we'll be on the downhill slope of the FCS season, and honestly, that's kind of sad.
Oh, it hit me today. We were 3 months away from Frisco.
I know. It got the same thing. I'm like, wow, it's coming. It's coming. I was talking to Brendan last week, and he's talking about when he and so Brendan, who's part of the B team, like when he and his wife are coming in, like they're already, everybody's looking at flights and doing all that stuff. Like it's coming quick, and the next 2 months are going to fly by.
We're only like 48 days from Selection Sunday. Yeah. Selection Sunday.
God.
Yeah, it's gonna all fly. It will fly by. October and November to me are the 2 fastest months of the year. It seems like because there's so much football and so much everything else that goes on, and personally, like with work and stuff, that's just gonna fly by. And all of a sudden, we're gonna be at our regular season end, and maybe doing the giant live podcast that we pitched with the South Dakota State boys to talk playoffs. Which I think would be fun.
That's what I was about to say. After this week starts my bracketology.
Nice. We got to put that. We need to definitely fit that in here then, because
that would be a great segment.
Yeah,
we revealed it last year, right before the like official Selection Sunday. We went through his bracket.
We talked about it for a good almost 30-45 minutes.
Yeah. So, man, that's just nuts. Kind of sad. It feels when you see 5 games in a record, it doesn't feel like you should be that far along, but we're rolling right on through. Basketball starts pretty quick.
JSU just released their out of conference schedule, so I'm ready for basketball season.
Yeah, we don't have ours yet, but I think they're still the ink is drying on a couple of contracts. But I've seen who we're playing, so we get like SFA will get South Dakota State in basketball against the return game from when we played them last year. And there's a couple of good non-conference games we have. We're in a tournament in Montreal, of all places, over Thanksgiving, a nice little MTE. So
we play North Dakota State in New Mexico, so I'm very excited about that game.
Yeah, basketball's coming soon, but man, like you said, football's kicking into high gear. This is when you see teams, honestly, I think this is when you start seeing teams play their absolute best because they've shaken off the rust from summer. They've gotten their first few games in. They're starting to gel. You see teams like the Sauk Lukis, who had 30 transfers, now gelling as a team and beating people up. Like, this is where, to me, the season truly gets exciting and begins in October.
Chaos.
It is. It sure is. Well, guys, if you are still watching this, we appreciate it. And we appreciate everybody watching every week. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. Rev points to it every week, so you cannot miss it. He's literally pointing at it. So make sure you smash that subscribe button. This is the best YouTube channel and podcast network for all things FCS football. We just added the Jay and Keith show from East Tennessee State. So,
oh really?
Yeah, I saw. No joke. That popped up on my subscriptions. I went, "Who the hell?"
That's man. If you like FCS football, this is your one-stop shop. So, I thoroughly enjoy hearing about Montana and South Dakota State and all the other random podcasts that we have on here. It's really cool. Make sure you join the Facebook page too. I say it every week. I think we're up over 12,000 members now. Can't find another FCS community like that. And there are some hot takes on that page for sure. Like, why is Linden Wood not ranked? I'm trying to think. There's some crazy stuff on there. The Jacksonville State fans tend to put some crazy stuff out there. Not Brandon, but
on where?
On the FCS fans.
Yeah, on the Fans Nation.
Shout out Bruce.
Yeah. No.
Shout out Bruce.
I would like to stay a part of this network. I don't want to piss anybody off.
But yeah, make sure you're doing that. Make sure you are seeing the broadcast media poll that Lawrence is compiling with all of us voting. I actually don't vote in it anymore because I don't feel like I can put enough time into putting a good top 25 together. So
yeah, I missed the vote this week because of work obligations, and I don't think I could have. I honestly don't think my top 25 would have been that good anyway with everything that's going on. So
Oh, I've had a different number one the past 3 weeks.
yeah, my number one would still be South Dakota State. That's who it would be, and then we can go from there. But
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I had North Dakota State. Last week I had South Dakota State, and then this week I have Montana State.
Nice. I'm sure Lawrence loves that. No,
hey, and you could start a show like Jimmy Williams does and explain your voting.
Mine is based purely off of performance every week.
Yeah, and that's also the other great thing Lawrence does too. Is his top 10 power poll that pisses everybody off each week because
he's not wrong,
and he's not wrong. That's the thing. He does, and people don't get it. So if you are someone who hasn't understood what's going on with it, it's not a over the season thing. It's a what have you done for me this past weekend ranking. Okay, like that's what it is. And so it's like the folks who read the FCS imperialism map and don't understand how that works.
Somebody saw it. I want to say it was I don't remember who it was. It was a big fan base fan that was like, you can't tell. Oh, no, it was the FBS imperialism map, and it was an Arkansas fan, and they read it as Memphis does not have more fans in Eastern Arkansas than the University of Arkansas does. And I was like, dude, woo, right over your head. But anyway, seriously though, this page and this network has tons of good content. So if you're still listening after that little aside that we just went on, I don't know why you're still here, but we're done. And this was a fun week, and I can't wait for next week because we may not have a ton of results to talk about, but we'll have a good week of week 7 games coming up.
We may have a special guest coming on.
And he may or may not be a very important man.
Yeah, we got to get that finalized if it's this weekend or next weekend, but it's one of the two. He wants to come on.
Yeah,
and we have to let him. I think it's part of our contract. We're obliged to let him on whenever he wants to come on. So.
The only requirement is that he talks crap about somebody's team and makes it on their hype video.
And he doesn't pronounce your last name correctly either. That's the other thing that has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to continue to call me Siller. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week for the week 6 recap and the week 7 preview. So good night, everybody, and we'll see you next week.